Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Football Daily Weekly. Pleasure to have you join us. Laurence is here. And Squawka Dave is also here. What are the 5 things we learned from the weekend's action? First up, Mourinho's Arsenal hoodoo is alive and well.
Oh.
0-0 at the Emirates. Arsenal, good performance. Chelsea obviously played their part as well, keeping the clean sheet. But my goodness, Dave, they can't get through that Chelsea backline, just like Manchester United failed to do. But it was a good game, though.
Yeah, you'd say it was a good game. You know, it had quite a lot to it, apart from the goals, obviously. One of a nice tactical affair, again, like Man United versus Chelsea from last week. But, you know, I think Mourinho actually has it over Wenger. You know, there's things in the paper saying, you know, Arsenal should have gone with 2 strikers up front, should have done this, should have done that. He just has them in his back pocket, doesn't he? And you can't see, with Mourinho in the league, you can never really see Arsenal to win the Premier League there, because Mourinho just has that over them, you know, can beat them in these big games like this. You know, imagine if Arsenal had won yesterday, back in the title race, but...
No, even if they'd have won, surely the title race is already gone.
Potentially, yeah, but there's this Chelsea side, obviously no striker at the moment, you know, that was sort of, didn't really work out for them in the first half, Drogba coming on in the second half. There's potential cracks there, but obviously powering through, going to win the league, John Terry again, back 4, immense, I'd say.
Immense, Laurence. People are saying boring Chelsea, but actually, in the first half, Chelsea created some good chances. Perhaps should have had a penalty or 2.
Yeah?
Certainly one, with Ospina on, I think we probably...
Can I ask, what is boring?
We don't have time to answer that this week.
What is boring? Yeah, what is boring? Define it in 150 words or less. What is boring about Chelsea? Because actually, they've got the player of the season, Eden Hazard, there, who's an incredibly satisfying player to watch.
In the team of the year.
6 players in the team of the year. Maybe Gary Cahill shouldn't have been in there, maybe someone else. But either way, they've dominated the team of the year. And like I say, they've got Eden Hazard in there, they've got people like Willian. And Eden Hazard had some lovely flicks over the weekend, as did Willian. That was quite exciting for me. I think the impetus doesn't only lie with Chelsea, it lies on the other team. And the other team sometimes maybe should look at other tactics and not feel so stifled. What they're doing is they're putting the responsibility on Chelsea, I guess because people think they've invested so much money, all those kind of things, to play beautiful football. But Mourinho's saying, that's not our responsibility. We don't owe you anything. What
about Cesc Fabregas, Dave? He was booed a bit when he sort of came off, and then there was applause. I think some people thought, actually, hang on a minute. But he was booed throughout, which... Personally, I think it's a bit poor, considering what he gave that club. And it's not like he went from Arsenal to Chelsea. Yeah. He went from Arsenal to Barcelona, which was where he was from, and they paid a big fee for him and so on.
I think it's poor form from some of the fans, obviously. Yeah. The other fans responding and giving him a good clap, which is what he deserves. You look at the start of the season, Wenger turned down signing Cesc Fabregas, and we look at Cesc Fabregas' stats for this season. The most assists, 6 more assists than any player. The only player to complete over 2,000 passes in the Premier League this season. Wenger's made a massive error there. You know, you've got Ozil, you've got Sanchez, but there's a room for Fabregas in that side.
Louis van Gaal's side is still some way to being a dominant force in the Premier League. Oh, Dave, 3-0 against Everton.
Terrible performance.
They lost it in the warm-up, apparently.
They definitely did.
What on earth was going on?
Did Everton play them in the warm-up?
I think so. Like a little 5-a-side or something.
Shit.
Have teams found Manchester United out? Is it a case of finding them out?
I'm not sure. I think we've got to credit Everton here. They were I thought they were excellent in the game. They defended very well. 2 banks of 4. You know, they bullied United into playing down the centre of the pitch where they had, you know, numerical superiority. They wound Fellaini up. Fellaini was out the game after 11 minutes. That booking just killed him. Fellaini's the Man United destroyer, the ball winner. You get a yellow card that early on, you're out the game, and he was very ineffective against Everton.
They took him off fairly early, didn't they?
That was half-time. They brought on Falcao, another, you know, very strange change, but... I think what United did lack was the cutting edge, and the likes of John Stones, I think he was excellent. You look at the last, I think Everton have got the best record in the last 6 games in the Premier League. They've picked 16 points up from possible 18. Yeah. And John Stones has played 90 minutes in each one of those games. So he's really coming of age. And I think obviously earlier on in the season we were discussing how Everton were poor. They lacked that defensive stability. And I think John Stones is the one that's sort of come in and really, they're forming a lovely partnership with Phil Jagielka, I'd say.
Do you think that when Manchester United, when they started playing, he seemed to go for Fellaini and Rooney? Yeah. As the more attacking players through the middle, when there had been a bit of change, and he thought, we'll settle on that, and people had kind of forgotten about Fellaini. As you say, he's a bit of a wrecking ball and goes in there. Whereas now people think, okay, that's what they're going to do. As we saw with Chelsea, they put Zuma in there, and Barry did a good job on him as well. Do you think that's just a case of it?
I think, like I mentioned before, I think the Everton players wound up Fellaini. They got him wound up, and he made this, 4 fouls in the game. He was just awful. But what you've got to look there is, I think the tactical variation needs to come back. Yeah, United played Juan Mata on the right. Juan Mata's been excellent in recent weeks, but he was coming too central, and we needed the width on the right-hand side that Valencia was offering, but we needed another player there to stretch it. When you're playing teams that defend deep, you need to stretch the play. You've got to have your deep-line playmakers got to be working the opposition. I thought Daley Blind had a very poor game at defensive midfield.
Yeah. Why didn't that happen then, Dave? Because, I mean, that's from what that seems like a very simple tactical change and something that Juan Mata would actually quite like. But why wasn't it happening?
It's quite I'm not sure. This is the thing. Van Gaal is brilliant at making these little tactical changes, but in recent weeks, he's not made them. No. Like, he's stuck on this 4-3-3 system, which is a brilliant system. But when it's not going right, like we're saying, change it a little bit, add an attacking midfielder in there, get Juan Mata playing behind Rooney, get a wide player on, potentially move Valencia to right midfield instead of right back. There's a few things that United could have done and they didn't do, and they just ended up bringing on Falcao, who was absolutely rubbish as always.
Well, Manchester United continue to struggle at Goodison Park. Leicester are out the bottom 3. The Great Escape is on, Dave. The Great Escape is on. People thought they were dead and buried.
Your shit.
But they've done a Hartlepool United.
Not anymore.
For League 2 fans.
Yeah.
And
I know you're out there.
They're all over YouTube,
yeah.
League 2 fans. They've won a number of games recently. They're up against Chelsea next. Obviously a tricky one against the champions, although they could get a point. The way Chelsea are going. But Leicester, though, wonderful stuff. Do you think they can do it?
I think they can. There's always a team
that
makes the escape. Leicester are making the escape at the moment. Big test against Chelsea, but at home, Leicester have been pretty decent. They've been, they've obviously smashed Man United earlier on in the season. Their form dropped, but it's coming back now. They're looking good at home. The tempo's up. Nice new 3-4-3 formation. I think against Burnley they only had 3 shots on target or something, and obviously scored from the own goal. So maybe sneak past that game, but that was a massive 3 points. And if they can continue to pick up, the momentum's there, just keep it going on, score some goals, and then they'll definitely be out of it. I think.
Yeah,
Can be Asso.
Yeah, him as well.
Excellent.
But he's been great. But Pearson's got to take a lot of credit, obviously, as the manager. But playing a more attacking style, Vardy's come back into the team and scored 3 and 5. It's at a time where you think, oh, blimey, be a little bit more cautious and try and nick it or something, but they've gone out there. Okay, a bit lucky, Burnley did miss a penalty.
Yeah.
But a lot of credit goes to Pearson in that little recent run of form.
Yeah, they're getting very aggressive. It's quite aggressive, isn't it? And I think Leicester fans like that as well. They like the aggressive sides.
Did Pearson threaten them, do you think?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, it was a bit like, when you see a cat run amongst pigeons? It's a bit like that, right?
Yeah, I would think bull in a china shop more. But,
yeah. No, I don't know what kind of vase Cambiasso is. But still...
A Ming one.
Yes, yeah, they're a good-looking guy. But I do think that genuinely, they get in the opposition's face, and like you see the Vardy goal at the weekend, and that was just good fortune in a sense.
Sure.
But he was still in the right place at the right time, and they've got the right kind of strikers to come on and basically disrupt a back line. And I know it sounds very general, but that works against sides who don't like it up them.
But do you think Leicester will stay up now, Dave, because of this recent run? Sunderland are now in the relegation zone. It's looking pretty bleak, or increasingly bleak for Burnley and QPR. Villa have been dragged into
I think
Hull got a good win.
Villa will be fine. Hull will be fine. I think Newcastle and Sunderland are the 2 teams who got
7 losses on the spin.
John Carver came out today and he was saying how he can't score the goals, he can't clear the ball off the line. It seems like he's lost it a bit.
I don't like his inability to not score goals.
He's a manager.
I'm highly critical of managers that don't score goals.
Yeah.
All right.
It seems like he's bottled it. He's lost his head. But Newcastle have got such a different squad. The players are so hot and cold. They could fly out of it. But I'd say Sunderland and Newcastle are going to probably join.
Sunderland and Newcastle.
Burnley.
There's only 3 teams go down. You know that, right, Dave?
Yeah. So I'm going to go one of Newcastle and Sunderland, and then Burnley, QPR.
Lawrence, quickly, who would you
already
think?
I don't care what I'm going to say. I don't think Carver deserves all the criticism that he's getting right now. So he's interim manager. Sure. I do think Leicester will stay up.
You think Leicester will stay up? Okay. I think Leicester are going to do it. Bayern Munich are Bundesliga champions yet again. Against all the odds, they've done it, and they could win the treble as they're in the semi-final of the German Cup and the semi-final, of course, of the Champions League.
3 is the magic number,
according to De La Soul. Laurence, worthy winners of the Bundesliga. Of course, the league table doesn't lie.
Worthy's a funny word, isn't it? You know what I mean about Bayern Munich? Worthy. Wealth beyond their wildest dreams. A league that they dominate, politically above the rest of the clubs. Granted, a well-managed team, but there's not enough competition in the Bundesliga to say worthy winners, I feel.
Dave, when I say worthy winners, I mean they've played the
full of
best
shit,
football.
mate.
They've won the most games. They've got the most points. Hence worthy. Forgive my
colleague,
my work colleague Laurence. What do you think of Bayern?
They're good. They've got a lot of variation. They've got a lot of brilliant players. Again, against Hertha Berlin, they've still got a lot of players out injured. They're resting players for the game against Borussia Dortmund on Tuesday night, the semi-final. They just found an answer eventually. They play lovely passing football. It's lovely to watch possession football. It's very relaxed. Bastian Schweinsteiger coming up with the winner. Michel Weiser, who is actually going to be leaving Bayern Munich at the end of the season, really made the difference from right back. He started on the left-hand side. Pep moved him to right back. Created the goal. Was absolutely excellent. I'd say they're definitely worthy winners of the Bundesliga.
Do you think they could win the treble then, Laurence?
I do think they could win the treble, Marcus. Yeah. Although would they be worthy of the treble would be my question. No.
Well, if they win it.
Well, if they win it, then they're worthy of it, right? Yeah. Also, I think the great point was made by Beckenbauer and who's the CEO of the company?
Karl-Heinz Rummenigge.
Rummenigge. He was great in Terminator. I think basically they made the point in a World Cup year. A number of people say, well, these teams exerted themselves. We can't expect them to win it a year after that. Bayern have just kicked on miraculously.
Javier Hernandez, Chicharito, is back, ladies and gentlemen. He's back among the goals. He scored the winner in the Champions League quarter-final. Of course, for Real Madrid, and then he got another couple on the weekend. There's talk of him getting a permanent deal to Real Madrid, Dave. And obviously, you being a Manchester United fan would have enjoyed the moments that he played up front for the Red Devils. I mean, were you pleased for Hernandez? Because he's had a funny time at Madrid, not played too much football, came in, missed a couple of chances against Leicester, but got the goal, got a couple more on the weekend, and he's enjoying himself.
So I think with Javier Hernandez, it's really an interesting role that he's playing for this Real Madrid side. Obviously, Benzema gives him a lot in terms of his play where he's pulling forwards out wide, and Ronaldo's coming through the middle and scoring goals with Bale. But Hernandez gives them a different option. He's a goal scorer, he's a poacher, scored the winner against Atletico Madrid, like you mentioned. I think he's good for this Real Madrid side as that extra option. Obviously, the best minutes per goal ratio in Premier League. Well, sorry, the fourth best minutes per goal ratio in Premier League history. So he's a goal scorer, and I think he's got a job in this Real Madrid side. And Ancelotti's sort of giving it to him now.
Do you think, Laurence, that Hernandez? I mean, he's been used to being a bit part player in the last few seasons. Is that good enough for a player like him? Should he perhaps maybe go down, not a level perhaps, but maybe a club or two and look for first team football regularly?
It's an interesting question, isn't it? Because when he did start for United, I don't know how many goals he scored, Dave, but the memory of him would be as, in inverted commas, a super sub. Yeah. And that's something that's very often, I think, people can look down on that a little bit because it's seen as a role where you're seen as a second string player, you're seen as someone who isn't starting for a reason, and it's because of your lack of quality. But that's not necessarily the case. It's becoming more and more prominent. I mean, obviously, since the 70s or even since the 60s, there have been players who've come on as subs and changed the game. But it's become a much more specialised role since then because of the three subs that they have. And Ancelotti, as a tactical manager, like every manager is, but especially Ancelotti, who knows how to use the game, knows how to use the ebb and flow of the game, brings Hernandez on at the right time, and now has effectively said to him, you've got an opportunity here while Benzema is out to come in and fill a void.
I think we can all agree it's good to have him back, and it'll be interesting to see.
Comment below.
Where do you think Hernandez should go? How he should be used? But we look forward to him playing hopefully more football come next season. That's your lot for this week, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Get your comments in below and let us know what you think of all that was chatted about there. Thank you very much to Dave, of course. Thank you very much to Laurence. We'll see you next week.